Hello and welcome to Reinvent and Rise. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and I'm extremely excited about the next few shows that I'm going to be bringing to you. I'm fresh off of finishing up Journey Share the Experience, the annual conference, actually the first time that we've done it in person. This is the second conference, but this is the first in-person conference that we held a few weeks ago, where we dedicated an entire day to pouring into women, to my audience, to my risers, women 45 plus. You know, those who want to do all that they can to make sure that this part of their life, the prime part of their life, is the best part of their life. Yeah, you. We took an entire day to pour into the risers so that they could do things and experience things and hear from women who look a lot like them, who have been able to conquer what seems to be the unimaginable for many of them, to be able to conquer that through perseverance, courage, determination, and faith. Be able to conquer things, to go for those dreams that they desire to have. And these women have not let age hold them back in any way. So I'm excited because today I'm bringing to you a part of what occurred on that day. And the part that I'm bringing you today is the panel that was made up of women who are authors from the anthology Reinvented to Rise. And that book tells stories, courageous stories of women who had to do things in which they needed to reinvent in order to get to the life that they desired to have. That book, as of this month, turns exactly 1 year old. So this is our anniversary. So we celebrated an anniversary in the midst of Journey Share the Experience. And we were able to bring those women to you, to let you know a little of their stories if you haven't heard them already in the book, and also to let you know what they're doing now that they have reinvented. So sit back and listen in as I share with you the excerpt, just a small excerpt of what happened at Journey Share the Experience. I know you will totally enjoy what they have to say. These women have powerful stories in that book. I highly recommend the book, not just because I'm a visionary, but because what has happened in the last year is we have all connected by reinventing, and we've been support for one another. We've also been able to share our stories. And so today I wanted to talk to these ladies so that you can hear a little bit of their stories and hear what has happened on the 1 year anniversary of them authoring Reinvented to Rise. So actually I lost my script because I wanted to introduce them to let you know what they do. So hold on just a second. So I'm getting ready to sit by Monique and so Monique has worked as a licensed therapist and life coach for over 20 years. Yes. She holds a master's degree in social work from Howard University. She has a heart for helping people reach their full potential and helping them to gain the tools needed to be successful in all aspects of their life. She utilizes a holistic approach in therapy that encompasses aligning the mind, body, and soul. She is a wife, mother, and minister. In her spare time, she enjoys reading and traveling and spending time with her family. Again, this is Monique. Next to Monique, we have Pixie Lee. Pixie, I'm sorry, Pixie, I just lost your information. Pixie hails from the Big A, okay? She was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and educated in the Cobb County school systems. Always being the go-to person for advice, it was only natural that she pursued certification and become a licensed life coach. After writing her first book, The Power of Purpose, doors opened in a tremendous way. Pixie connected her with people who have been instrumental in assisting her to building a life coaching business. Tapping into her writing skills, she became a ghostwriter, and in 2020 she released her second book, Forgiveness is Key, and started her publishing company. She published her first collaboration project as well, titled An Anchor for Ages. It's her goal to publish 50 new Black authors. She lives by the mantra, if she takes care of God's people, God will take care of her. Pixie Lee. And next we have Cavette Minor Kane, over here on my far right. And she is a financial liberation expert, an ambassador for self-worth and gratitude, and a proponent for women's empowerment. She guides women on their journey to self-sufficiency by educating them to take back their financial power and supporting them in gaining the confidence to fulfill their purpose in life. As CEO and founder of Marimore Life LLC, her mission is to elevate women worldwide to a greater quality of life. As an educator, a public speaker, and an author, she shares her message of financial liberation through a transformational process which incorporates emotional, mental well-being with improved financial habits for continued success. Cavette Minor Kane. I'm sorry, do you ladies mind helping me with the mics? I think we need 3 mics. Yeah, there's 3 mics. I want them to hear what you have to say. I'm so happy to see you. Now, we have been working together for a long time, but this is my first time meeting Pixie and Cavette in person. So it was reunion time earlier today. Awesome, awesome. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
It has been great. So the first thing I thought about when I was coming up with the questions that I would ask you guys is, I want everyone to hear what you told me when I asked you if you would be a part of the book. And we'll start with Cavette.
If I remember correctly, I was very honored to have been invited to join the anthology. It would be my first publishing under my own name. I had contributed to a work prior to that, but this was an opportunity for me to share my story. I had been through a major transition in my life, and I was writing, through that process of trying to figure out how to share, that in a way that would be beneficial for others, understanding the lessons that I had learned. And so when you presented this opportunity, it was an answer to my prayers. And I was very grateful for that opportunity. It took me a minute to be able to write, and you remember we were down to the wire, and I really had to emotionally push through it. But I thank you so much for holding my hand through that process and allowing me to share.
Absolutely. I thank you for sharing. And yeah, I vividly remember when you called and you were in tears because it was a very hard chapter for you to write. And as I read your story, I understood why as I read everyone's story. Why don't you tell us a little about what you wrote in the book, and then I'll ask you some
So my story, I shared about how I survived 3 major traumas in less than 2 years. And that for me, that started with Hurricane Maria. I lived in Puerto Rico between 2007 and was there for Hurricane Maria in 2017, which was totally devastating. We went without running water for a month. We went without electricity for 4 months, more than 4 months. We had no cell service for about 3 months. It was just completely devastating. I was working business one day and my business was completely blown away. And so, didn't exist. And so really trying to put my feet back on the ground with that. 18 months later, still in the recovery process, my father passed away. I didn't have a close relationship with him, but I had recently thought about reconnecting with him. I remember that there was a Facebook message, or I had changed my profile. I was like, let me just reconnect with the world. We've been, no electricity and everything. Social media was, just a breeze. So once we finally got electricity on, I said, well, let me go ahead and let everybody know I'm okay. I changed my profile and had just sent a very sweet message that I was beautiful, and I thanked him. And when I found out that he passed away, I talked to my sister and immediately came back to the States to support her in that process of handling his final affairs. However, having been devastated the way that I was, I had no money. And so the last money that I had really was for my flight, and then I ate a meal in the airport that had a little change when I came through. And so I had to figure out what to do in that process, which was, again, devastating. And then during the process of managing his final affairs, my ex-husband, because I was married, we had been married at that time for 17 years, told me not to come home. And that was devastating. I was in the process of, working to preserve an inheritance from my father who had passed away with no will and no life insurance. And for me, I felt very guilty because I had previously been a life insurance agent and hadn't gotten him any coverage. But we, because of our strained relationship and things, there was a lot of emotional challenges for me to overcome, and a lot of things that I needed to forgive myself for going through that process. And when my ex-husband released me from that marriage, it was devastating, but it was also relieving because it was an abusive relationship. It was abusive on every level: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial. And for me to go through this process, I had to reset my mindset in order to get my money right. Because when he said, don't come home, I said, okay, now what do I do? I have absolutely nothing. I was planning to, try to preserve what I could for my family. Now that no longer exists. What am I going to do for me? So I quickly made a pivot, re-entered the financial services industry here, which we had left prior to moving to Puerto Rico, and just started building from the ground level there. And this process allowed me to really focus in on what did I need to do from this place of nothing to rebuild, to create the reality that I had always dreamed of. And I've been able to use that just tremendously turn around my life in a short period of time, and have been just grateful for the opportunity to also, create a method or to share the process that I went through and teaching other people to do the same thing. And so Reinvented to Rise allowed me to start sharing that story and to give me a platform to move forward in that growth. So thank you.
I'm telling you, these stories are powerful. And she's just kind of summarizing. You have to read the book. And she started her own business, and I will say this, there are 14 of us, I think, out of the 14, because Vet is one fired up salesperson, because she markets and sells that book more than probably any of us. She is out there spreading the word and letting people know that you can reinvent and rise, telling her story and giving people information that's going to help them, like what we have in the book. So I'm so grateful for you. I am. As I am for you, Miss Dixie. So tell me, what did you say when I asked about you being a part of the book?
So when I initially saw the post you put out on Facebook,
Right.
I just recently joined your online group. We met on a different platform the year prior. And I remember just listening to you speak. I was like, oh my gosh, she is such a sweet spirit. I just want to work with her. I tell y'all now, if it's something you want to do and it's somebody you want to work with, put it in the atmosphere and it will come to pass. Because I said I want to work with her, and it was around January 2020. So when I saw the post leading up to like May 2021, I was like, this is my opportunity to work with her. So I sent her a message, and I saw it late. I was like, oh my goodness, I done missed my chance. So I sent her the message, and I was like, here we go. And lo and behold, she was like, I got one more space. I was like, yes. And I was super excited, and I was like, how I do this? What do you need from me? And all of a sudden, she threw me in the meetings like I hadn't missed anything. And a year later, I'm in the book.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, the way these women meshed together was unbelievable. And what was common is the fact that, they all had a story. They all had a story, and they knew that their story needed to be told, and they were on fire to do it, and they were excited because they knew that they had things that had happened in their lives that caused them to pivot, and they wanted to talk about that. So that's what I saw in your story. That's what I saw in everybody's story. It's just the excitement of it all, and the need to share the journey, the need to share the experiences that they had been through and were able to overcome, persevere. They had the confidence to do the work and to get to where they wanted to be. And, documenting it was a huge piece of that process for them, a huge piece. And then there's Monique. Now, I recall your response was just a little different.
Right. When Olivia actually, reached out to me, my response was kind of like, who, me? You want me to write? The only thing I've ever written is in my journal. But I had a desire to write, and I know there is a story that I need to tell. But I did, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And then what made it worse was when I got on the call, it appeared that everybody was an author. So I was like, these people are like, authors. They've written things before. I wrote in my journal, I write notes, documentation, and I remember I emailed you and I said, I don't think this is for me. And Alicia said, no, you have a story to tell. It's your story. And I'm glad that you encouraged me to write it, because in writing it, it allowed me to find my voice, to be able to be confident in using my voice. It was also very cathartic for me, because prior to that, like I said, I had wrote in my journal, but I had not shared my story out loud with too many people, if anybody at all. And so from that point, I think it really freed me to be able to tell my story and to go deeper, because I didn't go as deep in the book. So that chapter lets me know that God wants me to actually go deeper and write my story and to share with other people how, what I went through as far as being molested in a church, and how, that messed with my confidence and my insecurities and what it brought out for me. And I don't know if I'm supposed to go that deep, but anyway, and how that plagued me throughout my life. And so in my chapter, I kind of talk about it because that was the first time I publicly said it. The only other person up to that point who I had talked to it about was the doctor who asked me when I was 16, and it had happened to me when I was 5. And nobody had ever said what happened until a doctor said, what happened? Had anybody ever touched you? And I was able to release that. And the only other person I said it to after that was my mom, because the doctor called my mother into the room. And after that, I went on with life. But the thing is, it plagued me, it stayed with me, and it began to rear and manifest itself in every area of my life, and the confidence and the insecurity and wondering what was wrong. And I had a strong faith in the church. So it was mixed messages for me. And when I tell my story now, people look at me and they're like, and you still go to church? And you a minister? But that speaks to my faith in God and not in man. But that was my story, part of my story. But I thank you, Alicia, for giving me the platform to do that, because it really, like I said, it was very cathartic, and it allowed me to even open up, even this year, to, you know, my sisters. When we went to Seattle, I was able to open up to my group, and even just being able to speak to other women now, it frees you. So I think this book is one, even though I wasn't an author, you know,
You became an author.
but I became an author,
You became an author.
and I became so much more because of that.
Thank you.
Wow, how powerful was that? And that is just the beginning. The wonderful news is there's part 2. So, our next episode, you will be able to hear the remainder of the conversation I had with these authors who reinvented to rise. So, as we sign off for here today, I encourage you, as I always do, to go out and be boldly yourself, boldly and authentically you. Reinvent if need be. Reinvent so that you can rise. Plug into your journey, because the answer to what you need and where you need to go can be found there. Be determined to do all that you can do right here in your prime to live the best part of your life ever. Go out with the thumbprint that is unique to you, the thumbprint that only you have, and the mark that the world is waiting for. Until next time, be safe and be well.